if we just say, hey, every single worker, stop what you're doing. Do not go into work. Do not make the machine run. See what happens. And we're all afraid to do it because, en masse, because we're like, oh, if I don't go into work, I'm going to get fired. But then if they all go into work and I'm the only one not going to work, I'll get fired, and then, right? So you start running your mind about like, what if I'm the only one? But as a union, if you do it as a union, you assure that you are not the only one. We are all doing this together, right? So that's why I think labor is really a huge key to our liberation, labor unions specifically.
Welcome to the Passing Through Podcast, a show dedicated to exploring those spaces not just within, but also between and around us. The cracks in the walls, the moments between the moments. I speak with thinkers, authors, artists, teachers, and everyday humans who have touched the edge of the ordinary and found something to bring back. What does it mean to tell stories from the in-between? And how can film become a form of resistance, of tenderness, of remembering who we are beyond borders and categories? Beneath the noise of harrowing headlines and persistent propaganda, I suspect there's a deeper movement growing of people remembering their collective power, refusing erasure, refusing silence, and choosing instead to tell their stories. My guest today is Rolla Selbak, a Palestinian-American filmmaker and storyteller whose work is rooted in resistance, solidarity, and the imagination of freedom. After her previous award-winning films like Choke and Three Veils, Rolla now leads the initiative Safina Filmmaker Project, born of the idea that storytelling is a shared voyage. Safina in Arabic means ship or boat, reminding us that we are traveling together, literally passing through seas of shifting narrative. In our conversation, we talk about the ongoing genocide in Palestine and what it means to make art inside of the machinery of empire. We talk about labor unions, the power of collective strikes, and how solidarity itself becomes a form of storytelling. We explore the links between the surveillance of Palestinians and the illegal detainment and deportation of people at home on U.S. soil, and the quiet, terrifying role that tech companies like Palantir play in both. We talk about the No Kings protest, Chris Smalls, the Disarm Genocide rally, and whether we can successfully organize and withhold our labor before AI finds a way to replace us. Because the lifeblood of capitalism is currency. And if we stop feeding, if we start impeding the flow, if we meddle with the circulation of that system, suddenly the system is going to realize its fingers are turning blue, that things aren't moving, that something is wrong. And this is a way, through boycott, through divestment, through sanctions, we can topple empire and coloniality and capitalist structures of extraction and violence. I really enjoyed this talk with Rolla, and I think you will too. You can find Rolla and information about her films on her website at rollaselbak.com. You can find her on Instagram. And there's also her exciting upcoming social thriller called The Visitor. It's set in Jerusalem, where a demon begins erasing the memories of the communities and families and friends in the town around a young Palestinian man. Described as the Palestinian Get Out, the film paints a dark, satirical horror through fantastical Palestinian folklore. So please check out thevisitormovie.com to learn more or support the film. All the links you'll need to find Rolla will be in the show notes. As always, be good to one another. And let's buckle up, tune in, and practice some disobedience. Okay, so Rolla Selbak, welcome to the Passing Through podcast. It's an honor to sit down with you.
It's an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And as we were just speaking before we started recording, I thought a good place to begin would be to ask you about what your life's purpose is right now. What are you dedicating your time and energy into? Because I think this is a deep and important question that can root us down into a space.
Yeah, I think I love that question. And it comes at a really integral time, I think. I am dedicating my time, my energy, my life into spreading awareness into the injustices that are currently happening and have been happening for 7 decades to my people in Palestine. I am spreading awareness about how that is connected to all of us and all of us trying to attain freedom in this new world order we find ourselves in. And I'm trying to do so in a unified way that also keeps us empowered and joyful versus helpless and hopeless.
Thank you. Beautifully articulated. I think that is an admirable goal, and thank you for doing that work. Something that you just said stirred in me, so I guess we'll pursue that. And it's about how what's happening in Palestine affects all of us. Maybe you could speak a bit more about that, because that's something that I feel, but I think might be hard for me to verbally convey. So maybe you could talk a bit about that.
I think it affects all of us, not just because a part of our human family on the planet is being annihilated and genocided and tortured and maimed and killed in front of our eyes. That is one huge aspect. It is affecting our humanity. It is causing moral injury for those of us who are working in spaces that are antithetical to who we are as human beings. So that's one aspect, certainly, just as being humans on this earth, watching other humans suffer injustice in the most vile ways and destructive ways. But I think it actually speaks to something much bigger, which is the same system that is killing and subjugating and genociding the Palestinian people is the same system that is criminalizing homelessness in the United States. It is the same system that is completely plundering beautiful places like Congo in order for us to be able to have this podcast conversation with these, these minerals and microchips and cobalt and all the stuff that we are plundering from other places on this earth. So it is the same system. It is all the same system. And it is only serving a small group of people who cannot get enough. And the rest of us are subjugated and enslaved in the system that is not only causing harm to us, but it is causing us to harm others, whether inadvertently or intentionally or not.
Just letting that sit there for a second, because it's a heavy point that you're making, and it's an important one.
Yeah.
And that really resonates with me. And maybe we could dig into those systems, because I would guess that one of those systems is, it's not just capitalist extraction and empire and these systems of coloniality. It's also like these systems of military industry and global arms trade. And all of this stuff is connected, and it goes even deeper. everything you said is true. And I was thinking it extends further into the earth. Like when you think of the
Yes.
ecological devastation that's happening in Palestine, in Congo, in places where we are treating the earth as though it's just a thing to take from or to just
Yes.
bomb indiscriminately so that we can, it's collateral damage in a bombing campaign and a
Yes.
genocide. I think this way of seeing the earth and losing that sense of relationality with it is deeply problematic as well. So I think there's a big knot that all of this stuff hinges on, and maybe we could unravel it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you said it exactly. Exactly. Like it is all connected. Like every aspect of humanity is currently being tested. And it's really, I call this the last stand for humanity because it really is, we are being challenged and questioned about not only who are we as human beings, but who do we want to be as human beings, as humanity. And I think if we allow what's going on in Palestine to descend into complete, ethnic cleansing occupation and just kind of close the story there, I think it really is an indication about the fact that humanity as a whole, like that this is what we have allowed to happen and that this is what it means like to be human now. It's all connected even when we talk about the AI technologies that are being
Yes.
used, to your point, in the military industrial complex, tested. Like literally, Palestine is a testing ground for these AI technologies that, okay, are used to kill and to maim, but it's the same technology that's used, for the digital IDs that's happening in Europe and in UK. It's the same technology that's used to, aggregate all these databases to spy on the American population in the US. It's the same. The root is the same as the satellites that are being propped up by SpaceX and Elon Musk's company, again, for like mass surveillance of the globe. And so if we allow Palestine to fall and if we allow these powers to reign, then that means they will reign over us all, not just over Palestine.
Yeah, that's a haunting image there. And I think we are seeing the repercussions of that. We are seeing what happens when the world doesn't intervene, when there is no reckoning for these actions. We're seeing it in the States right now. These companies that you're talking about, even a company like Spotify is investing in AI militarism. You have companies like Palantir in the States, and you see them being used against lawful citizens, residents. Masked ICE agents are just throwing people in the back of vans, disappearing them off to foreign countries, to prisons in El Salvador. And I would guess that these same technologies that are being used against Palestinians in Palestine, to your point, are the ones that are being used on American soil against lawful American citizens.
100%. 100%. That is exactly what I'm saying. And it is dystopian and it is scary. And I think the other thing, actually, I want to bring it to a little bit to what I said, which us harming each other, right? Whether intentionally, unintentionally, so on and so forth. When it comes to the ICE agents, yes, a lot of them are masked, but you can very visibly see that a lot of these ICE agents on the streets of America or the United States are of the same ilk, are of the same family, ethnic family of the
Mm,
ones who they are literally beating to the ground, zip tying up, putting 40 in a van. Like it's the same. And so it's really crazy because, the question is, why would you do that to your own? But we are doing it to our own. Like we are all humanity. So yes, you can sit here and say like, why are they doing it to their own? It's like we are all doing it to our own. You know what I mean? The people in Congo are our own. The people in Palestine are our own. These are our own. And until we wake up and realize that, unfortunately, the powers that be are going to keep taking advantage of these divisions in order to keep taking more and more and more. I don't know when more is going to be enough. I mean, they want to go get the moon and the planets and Mars, and it just seems like it's this they're infected.
mm,
And when I say infected, I definitely do not mean to take accountability away as if, oh, they're infected and they're diseased and they're sick and they need to be healed. They are doing this on their own volition. But it does seem like a disgusting sickness that they have grown from within and that they are now exporting out into the world.
Yeah, what you're saying reminds me of this. There's a concept inside of Native American tradition called this idea of wetico. It's this kind of soul sickness. It's this insatiable hunger that someone could become afflicted with, where they become cannibalistic. You cannot be satisfied. They're eating other tribes, other people, devouring everything. So this concept exists even in that cosmology, and it's something to be feared. It happens in like the hungry times, in the winters. And it seems like for a lot of people, like the Elon Musks, the Peter Thiels, the Jeff Bezos, there is this same sickness that you're describing that has been described by native peoples. And I wonder what the antidote to that is, because to me, it would seem that it's counterintuitive maybe, but it would seem that compassion, love, community, understanding, respect, these types of things could be antidotes to that. But I don't see how on a practical level that would actually work and heal and remedy this type of thing, because those types of people don't seem particularly interested in those things.
Not only are they not interested, they have disdain for it. So if you were to go up to someone of the folks that you mentioned, or that small circle, it is an extremely small circle of people, right? And you say to them, hey, you offer them compassion that they may not have had, or, you offer them, the validation that they needed as a child, or, whatever it is, they will laugh in your face. That is not valuable to them. I think they are driven by ego. And I think the only remedy is to either appeal to their ego or to break down their ego, and for them to realize that they are not rulers of this earth. This earth is not for them to rule. And I think that until they are taught that, they will continue to do what they are doing. The other thing I will say is I love what you said, and you might know this because I actually have forgotten, and I hate that I've forgotten, the term hungry ghosts. They are hungry ghosts. And it might be similar to what you're saying or within the same philosophy. And I hate that I forget who coined the term or which group
this comes from
term,
Buddhist traditions, the realm of the hungry ghosts.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. See, I knew you'd know. Yeah, it's like this emptiness. It's emptiness, and yet they are hungry, and yet they are devouring, and they are destroying but they will never even, and that's crazy to think that they're trying to feed themselves, I don't know what, but they not only will they never be satisfied, but they will never be filled with anything. They will always be empty. And it's very dangerous to have a hungry ghost who has $1 billion in the bank account.
Yeah. And who commands the dominant social media platform that people use to get their information. So it's a very dangerous mix. But you said something I wanted to follow the thread on, where you were saying maybe by appealing to their egos. And I was thinking, what role that you as a filmmaker and storyteller, what role might story have in achieving that end? Because a lot of times when we are appealed directly, we might have resistance, we might have fear, we might have apprehension. But if we are seduced or enchanted by a story, we're watching Star Wars, I bet Elon Musk doesn't root for the Death Star. I bet he's rooting for the rebels. And maybe through some weird, twisted cognitive dissonance, he sees himself as, a rebel force fighting against the scum and villainy of woke mind virus or whatever he says. But it seems like story could be this thing that's persuasive and compelling in a way that's disarming. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. However, my focus is not on appealing to the 0.01% who currently rule us all. I think that in my mind, it is a futile endeavor because they simply do not live in the same reality as we do. They don't. They don't value what we do. They don't care about what we do. They don't. They simply don't. Even if you look at how they treat their own families, like you can even try and be on a humanistic level. Oh, everyone just wants to, have a roof over their head and, raise their kids. No one's raising their kids. Like, they're not raising their kids. Like, they're either, my point is we are not the same. And it is because they have disconnected themselves so badly in order to achieve these selfish means. So what I completely agree with you in terms of what storytelling can do is what I want to do is spark the imagination of everyone else. And I want us to realize just how much beauty and power we have when we unite and when we are together. And only once do we realize that we are being taken advantage of. These 0.1% folks, they can't do it without us. And we are kind of been rocked by a capitalistic lullaby in order for us to be asleep and in order for us to be okay with this. And you see, the more that these powers keep encroaching on our freedom and on our way of life, the more we're like, well, it's okay. At least we have like Amazon delivery and we can listen to Spotify. Oh, it's okay. At least I can watch Netflix at night and have a beer. It's okay. As long as the Super Bowl's on and, you know what I mean? And so they kind of lull us into this lullaby into thinking we have freedom just because we have freedom to buy things. Freedom to buy things is not doing anything for us other than making them richer and more hungry. So what I want to do with my stories is to really spark our imagination and to really truly realize just how connected we all are and just how much beauty and power we have together into creating the world we really do aspire for and deserve.
Beautifully said. I like that a lot. And that's a theme that I've been encountering more and more lately, this kind of narrative crisis that we're in, that the stories that we tell ourselves are not empowering stories. They are often kind of escapist stories or feel-good stories that deny the reality of a situation. And we could tell ourselves better stories. We know how to do it. We can empower ourselves. And so using imagination and story to achieve that end is the direction we probably should be moving in. Because another topic that I wanted to dig into was this intersection between labor and liberation, because that seems to be like we're threading into that zone by talking about our collective power and not just feeding into the system by consuming and buying and giving them money. So maybe we could speak a bit about that, because if I'm correct, there is a rally today in DC. Is that happening?
Yeah, there's a rally in DC, and this is a huge, huge step. So Chris Smalls, who's the Amazon union leader, like, by the way, if you all don't know, I'm sure you know about Chris Smalls, but if you do not, if you're in a small corner of this world where you do not know about Chris Smalls, you should definitely look this amazing human being up. He created the first ever union in Amazon. And they fought him tooth and nail, and everyone thought like, oh, it's absolutely impossible. What are you doing? No way, so on and so forth. And he did it. He did it. And so what he's doing is he's using his ability to really express upon the people and impress upon the people that labor unions are the most hugely organized group of people in not only in America, but in places like Europe as well. Like, for instance, we saw, when we look at Italy shutting down, the port workers shutting down the ports in order to stop weapons shipments, from the ports to Israel. Maybe folks may not realize, right? We may watch social media videos and we see like, oh, Spain shut down Madrid and Italy shut down and wow, this is amazing. You see millions of people on the street. And you might be thinking, as I did, by the way, oh, these are just kind of random sparks of protest that like maybe one person went out to the street and more people went out to the street and then we all went out to the street and then we all shut it down. But in fact, they are very organized. And what I always come back to is Malcolm X's quote where he says, "We are not outnumbered, we are out-organized." We have the numbers as people. Like, that's why I keep saying they're the 0.01% or 0.1%. We are the rest. So how come they are able to rule over us in this way? How come they are able to kill us, make us sicker, make our cost of living so that we have to live on the street, make us one, in America, make us one doctor visit away from completely going broke? How are they able to rule over us, this small group of people, if we have the numbers? And the answer is that we are out-organized. And so that's why labor, when we talk about labor, we talk about labor unions, right? Unions. They are already an organized body, and they are already a unified body. So why don't we use labor, which is what this hungry machine is depending on? They depend on our labor.
Yes.
So we have the leverage. We don't realize we have the leverage, but we do. If we say something like, let's literally stop working. Every single worker, I'm going to say the U.S. as an example, just because it's the belly of the beast and the belly of empire, but this can be attributed to any other society. Let's say in America, if we just say, hey, every single worker, stop what you're doing. Do not go into work. Do not make the machine run. See what happens. And we're all afraid to do it because, en masse, because we're like, oh, if I don't go into work, I'm going to get fired. But then if they all go into work and I'm the only one not going to work, I'll get fired, and right? So you start running your mind about like, what if I'm the only one? But as a union, if you do it as a union, you assure that you are not the only one. We are all doing this together, right? So that's why I think labor is really a huge key to our liberation. Labor unions specifically.
Yeah, I love this idea. So I want to dig into this more because I think that we do have incredible power here if we are together, if we stand together. And that's the thing that is the sticking point, because we live in times of fracture and separation. And this suspicion and distrust of each other, it's another form of harm that you were talking about earlier that we perpetuate against one another, often invisibly, sometimes overtly. But this distrust or suspicion that, yeah, I might be the only one. What if nobody else does this? I have kids to feed. I have bills to pay. I can't have my family out on the street. This is too risky for me. I'm simply not going to do it. I understand that fear. I get it. It's real. I resonate. I sympathize with it. But how can we, and whenever I find myself asking a how can we question, I start to pause a little bit, because there isn't a single answer that we're going to come up with to answer this question. But maybe there are some ways that we can start to dismantle that way of thinking, and we can put trust in each other. We can lean on each other. We can mobilize. We can out-organize the machine. And I wonder if you have any ideas about that, because for me, that's where I start to struggle, where I go, I love it. I want to do it. How do I convince people to do it?
I think it really comes down to the fact that freedom is not free. It comes at a cost. And I think we have been told, and we've been romanticized, we romanticize people, for instance, like the great Martin Luther King, as, oh, look, all he had to do was do one I Have a Dream speech and march in Selma, and look what it did, right? It gave civil rights to the Black American population. And so we've been romanticized, right? We even gave MLK a day as a holiday, federal holiday. But what we all need to be aware of is there was a cost to freedom. It wasn't just him giving a speech. It wasn't just, he was the enemy of the state.
Mm-hmm.
He was in jail. He was assassinated. There is a cost to freedom. And I think what we are trying to avoid is thinking that, oh, maybe those people over there can bear the cost and I can be here safe, having brunch, watching my Netflix, and the people over there will bear the cost. The people over there, someone else will do it. And I think this feeling of dread is coming upon everyone who's had that thought, because they're like, oh my God, no one is coming. It is us. I have to bear this cost. And it is a dreadful feeling. It is a feeling of dread I understand. Even I have it. It is a feeling of dread. It's realizing, it's that gulp in your throat, like there is going to have to be a cost to this. And the other thing that I understand is the feeling of like, will we succeed? This kind of notion of like, I only want to pay the cost if I can be guaranteed of the outcome. And there is this pain of, I can't tell you if this is going to make us free or not. All I can tell you is we do need to do this, or else we are guaranteed that we'll be enslaved for the rest of our life. That's what I can guarantee. I guarantee if we do nothing, our families, our communities, our countries will continue to be at risk. And not just at risk, in danger, not just in danger, we will be completely fallen into the system that we cannot get out of anymore. This is the moment where we need to rise up. It's literally the last stand. It's literally us saying, no, you cannot surveil me 24/7. No, you cannot take my child out of school because you think they need to be jailed or deported. No, you cannot take away my benefits, and so now I have to beg on the street and find food banks because I can't feed my family. No, you cannot. No, you cannot tell me what I want to teach my family or not teach my family. No, you cannot tell me what I can say or not say. No, you cannot. You can't. No, you can't decide to take more taxes from me so I can kill and bomb and maim other people who've done nothing to me. No, you cannot. You cannot do this. You will not do this. And I will pay the cost now to say that you will never be able to do this again.
Just giving that more space because that's powerful. And thank you for speaking those words, because I share the same sentiment. And it leads into a question that I had for you, because it's something I've heard you say before. You asked the question, at what point are we expected to stay civilly obedient? And I think you're wading into those waters now, where it's how long can we sit still and allow this and do nothing and watch as this happens? So I wanted to dig into this a little bit and have you talk about this question and why it's important.
I think it's important, again, because we realize, and I do think we realize this, that nothing will change if we keep on not challenging the system, and more specifically, if we keep being obedient to the system. Nothing will change. Why would it? Why would it change? There is no reason for it to change if we are obedient. And it's one thing I understand, by the way. I also love this aspirational idea that, hey, if we all agree to rules and if we all agree to rules and if we all follow the rules, that is the signal of a healthy society, of a respectful society. I agree with that. But we are not agreeing to these rules. Who is putting in these rules? We are literally being consumed. And we are not realizing it because this is the way the system is manufactured. It is manufactured for you to believe you have no power. It is manufactured for you to believe that your whole life's purpose is to work. Hey, this is the contract. You go to work, you go 9 to 5. We tell you what to do. You take your money, you buy your beer, you watch your Super Bowl, buy a few nice things for your kids, and, and call it a day. But this is not the contract that we signed up for. This isn't what we are agreeing to. So when I think of, again, the great Malcolm X, him and Martin Luther, like, had different ways of navigating how to become free. And and if you read Malcolm X's autobiography, which, by the way, it's required reading by everyone. Everyone who's listening to my voice right now, if you haven't read this book, it will change your life. It might sound, oh, it's heavy reading, it's homework, it's, I need to be in a certain headspace. Trust me, it is the most beautiful, accessible, liberating book you will ever read. Just trust me, just open up the book and read the first chapter. And if you are not compelled to read the whole thing in one setting, then you can come at me and tell me, but I guarantee you will be. And so what the great Malcolm X said was, if they are giving you a permit, if they are allowing you a permit to go march in a street, then this is not called a protest. This is called a picnic.
Mm.
So you see, we are given these kind of valves in order to release pressure, in order to make us think, oh, and a good example is No King's Day.
Yes.
This No King's Day, which, by the way, again, there is also beauty in picnics. There is beauty in rallies. There is beauty in showing our numbers, in commiserating and being together, like-minded people coming together, in showing ourselves and the powers that be, hey, here are our numbers. This is how much we are. There is a beauty in that. No discounting that. However, No Kings was not a protest. It was a big picnic. It did not challenge. It did not protest. We are being obedient. And what will obedience give you? It will give you nothing in the face of people who are not abiding by the contract. You are not abiding by this contract. I promised that I would give you my labor. I promised I would give you my rules order. I promised I would, not do anything bad, not break laws. I promised I would just sit here and work my 9 to 5, take care of my family. That's what I promised. And in return, you promised to take care of me. You promised to not take advantage of me. You promised to move the country or the city or state or county in a way that I am telling my representatives I want. You are not abiding by this contract. Why should I? Why should I? It is valid for you to ask these questions. It is valid. You are deserved of something more. This is not what you signed up for, and it's okay to realize it. And now what are you going to do?
I'm happy that No Kings came up organically, because I wanted to bring it up as a, in my opinion, largely ineffective protest. Because if you look at what the response to it was, the president of the United States posted a meme of him in a fighter jet dumping shit on protesters. He basically said, fuck you to all of the protesters, because it means nothing. It doesn't make any impact. Imagine if all of those people instead, like you said earlier, withheld their money from the market and just did a boycott, did a strike. Like, that would actually do something. That would actually cause a reaction, because they would, the lifeblood is currency. The lifeblood of capitalism is money. And if you stop the flow, people respond to this. The blood isn't moving. You start to get tingly hands. You start to get short of breath. The machine is going to say, what is this? What's happening? Something is wrong. But if people are just in the street holding up funny signs, dressed in frog outfits, and it's like, yeah, it's fun. It's like you said, there is a beauty in it, but is it achieving the end that you wanted to achieve? And I think the answer is no for that case.
I couldn't agree with you more. Exactly. And in fact, exactly what you mentioned about withholding our consumption, right? We have consumption and we have labor. That is our value. That is our leverage. Our work.
Yes.
Right? And our money. And if we hold those two things This system can't even function for a day, not one. And by the
Yes.
way, may I say, this is exactly why they are literally putting all of their eggs in the AI basket, because they don't want us to have that leverage anymore. The more AI and robotics comes into play, the less they're going to need human labor, you see. And so that's where they want to get. Robots can't unionize. AI can't unionize, right? So,
Oh, wow.
and if it
Robots
does, they'll
can't
program it
unionize.
to not. And so that's why that's another reason why they are literally in this feverishly trying to get to this place where they completely cut out humans from the labor market. Not only because it's cheaper, but because then they don't have to worry about any leverage that we might have. Okay. But to go back to what you said, No Kings was ineffective as a protest, but a really good example of what was extremely effective right recently was what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. So for folks who may not know, Jimmy Kimmel is a late night show host. He has a show on a Disney channel, on one of the Disney-owned channels. And he got into a tiff with, he basically made some sort of comment about during the Charlie Kirk times, and he made a comment about MAGA and, whatever. It was a satirical joke. And then so, of course, because of the pressure of Donald Trump and his cronies and the FCC, Disney took him off air the next day, took Jimmy Kimmel off air the next day. And by the way, it's not a very watched program. I mean, it's mostly like, people 50s and above who watch TV anymore, so it's not like it really was but what ended up happening was all these Disney subscribers literally canceled their subscription. They're like, no, this is our red line. You are not going to cancel Jimmy Kimmel. And they pulled out their subscriptions. And within 2 days, Jimmy Kimmel was back because Disney's like, oh, no. Investors are unhappy. This is going to hurt our bottom. This is already hurting our bottom line. Just 2 days of pulling subscriptions from Disney turn things around. So, and that's for something so inconsequential. So I understand that it might seem like it's just rhetoric, like, oh, we have the power. It's like, you see it. You see it in the most mundane of contexts. Imagine if we do this in a more profound level. We took Disney down for 2 days. 2 days. All it took was a bunch of 56-year-olds pulling their Disney subscriptions.
Yeah.
So I just want people to realize this is not just rhetoric. We see this with our eyes. This is a truth that cannot be denied. We have the power.
That is a beautiful illustration of the point that you're making here. And it shows our collective leverage and our ability, if we come together, to hit them where it hurts, to make them notice, to make them change, because they respond to that. It's so clear, it's so obvious. And I think a lot of people understand that on a basic level, but they aren't ready, as you said earlier, to take that risk and do something like that without assurance of success. And without that guarantee, that feeling of what if all of this was for nothing is very scary. I can understand that. But also and I'm repeating you here, but if you don't do that, you have no chance of anything. At least doing it, you have a chance. So I agree. It's very important to resist in that way. And this topic of resistance is another component of what we're talking about, because we often hear, peacefully resist. Now, you can resist, you can express your First Amendment right to use your speech to resist. But any other thing, don't do. Political violence, no, that's bad, Except if you're the U.S. and you're celebrating the War of Independence and glorifying the fight for freedom from an oppressive colonial power, or you're talking about the Civil War, where the South raised their Confederate flag and fought the Union, and they wanted to secede from the Union, and they were defeated, of course, but in the South, they still proudly fly that flag as a symbol of resistance, as a symbol of standing up for what you believe in against an oppressive power. So it's really weird that we have this kind of contradiction inside of American discourse, where you have people who talk about not resisting, obeying, being obedient, even when it comes to like the destruction of private property, like burning all these Teslas, which I thought was a great show of using capital as using leverage to say, we're just going to do some property destruction here because fuck Elon Musk. And like, I liked that. I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's an interesting way to put pressure on people. But again, this was vilified and demonized as like violent resistance. And I don't know if it's violent to burn a Tesla, but it isn't violent to genocide Palestinians. Like, that's kind of weird to me, right? Like, I don't get that.
The hypocrisy, it's just so obviously hypocritical. And you mentioned, this is how you know how disingenuous this rhetoric is about, like, oh, this is how you should protest, this is how you should not protest, so on and so forth. So let's say we want to protest, quote unquote, by peaceful means, right? Which is, hey, speak up. Let's just speak up. Just our voice. Do you see how much violence is enacted on people who are raising their voice? They're not doing anything else but raising their voice. And when I talk about violence, I don't just mean physical violence of putting someone like Mahmoud Khalil in jail, or like a gazillion other people speaking up in jail and, in a lot of cases, deporting them. I'm also talking about the violence, and it is violence, of saying, hey, universities, you will not get your $400 million endowment if you don't get your students to shut up.
Yes.
Hey, person who's speaking on social media, we are now gonna literally take away your account from you. That is violence. You are now disconnecting a person from their whole community. Shadow banning, taking, hey, all of you huge group of people, we don't like what you're saying. So we are literally going to spend billions of dollars to buy TikTok. Like, what is this? Like, you can tell me all day, yeah, all you need to do is just speak up. It's like literally people, and by the way, not for anything, I think Charlie Kirk was an abhorrent, vile human being who enacted violence himself in my mind, with his awful rhetoric, especially marginalized people who really, really don't deserve anything what he said. However, even he got shot. Even him using his quote, quote voice, even him who some groups of people might see as like, oh, he's just speaking his truth. And it's like, even he got assassinated. So you can tell me all day long, oh, just do it this way, not that way. By the way, BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions Movement, has been so... and literally, what is it? It is just saying, I am withholding my money. I am not going to buy Israeli products. I am not going to, for instance, go to Israel on holiday. Just saying, I do not want anything to do with this entity or anything to do with putting my few dollars I have in my pocket. I don't want to buy sabra hummus that is, culturally appropriating Palestinian food. I don't want to. I don't want to spend $5 on sabra, right? So in your mind, you're like, well, that's peaceful. You're literally not even saying it. You're not even outwardly saying you're doing anything. You're just simply saying, I'm going to buy this local product instead of that one. It was considered such a threat that now, in America specifically, that now, I think I have the number right, 37 states in the United States have made it illegal. The states have made it illegal for you to partake in BDS if you want to work, be a contractor for the state or work for the state or be paid by the state. You have to literally sign something that says, I solemnly swear to, I don't know what, to love Israel and to buy all their products. I'm being facetious, but essentially it's like that. It's like if you're caught at all boycotting or divesting or supporting anything like that, you cannot work for the state. I mean, that's insane. So anyway, my whole point is to say that you can, they can tell us all day, every day that, hey, all you need is to speak up. But their whole issue is not with how we are resisting. Their whole issue is that we are resisting. That is their whole issue. They want us to be obedient and sit down and be good little, children and keep feeding the machine with our money and keep feeding the machine with our labor. And once we wake up and understand that we are the ones with the power, we are going to continue being subjugated and enslaved more and more and more and more until there's no humanity in us left.
I'm glad you brought up BDS. I was going to make a BDSM joke, but I couldn't find a way to do it. But 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 BDS, I think, is such a good example because it's been wildly effective. It's very nonviolent. Anyone can do it. I spoke to the creator of the No Thanks app some episodes back, and it's just incredible that he had this idea to like, how could I just empower people? What if I could give them a tool to help them make informed purchasing decisions? Like, that sounds pretty achievable. And by himself, he just made this app that you could download on your phone that has tens of thousands of users all around the world taking action easily, like from their phone. It's genius. It's beautiful. And I feel like there's probably so many opportunities like that for people to leverage BDS effectively, not just against a genocidal regime, but against like a different genocidal regime in America, one that's funding the genocidal regime. Like to use that against the US government, I think that's a potent tool that is very, very underutilized. I wonder how people could utilize it. And I guess they're doing it with this rally, this Disarm Genocide rally is an example of that. But I wonder if we could take it further. I wonder how we could better organize to collectively use money to make our point or the withholding of money to make our point. Because it seems like there's so much potential there, and it would be very difficult for the government to, start pepper spraying you, tear gassing you, bludgeoning you, throwing you to the ground when you're just at home not buying anything. Like, what are they going to do? It seems like a safe way to protest.
I mean, it is. And like I said, even then, right, they're like trying to pass laws to be like, no, you can't withhold your money. It's like, what am I supposed to spend my money? Like, what is this even, right? But I will say that the thing about today's activities in DC is not just a rally. I think the important thing to note is this is Chris Smalls and a whole group of people going up to the AFL-CIO, which is the body of the largest labor unions in the United States, and bringing our demands to them and saying, hey, listen, AFL-CIO, you have said nothing. You have over 12 million members collectively in your umbrella, and we are demanding that you use the power of labor to stop weapons shipments, to disarm genocide, and in general to protest what is going on in Palestine. So this is just step one of a huge movement that, if we organize and if we do this right, will be and deal a huge blow to empire. This will be something huge if done right. So inshallah, ya Rab, like more power to them for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for providing more clarity about that. And that's good. It gets me excited, gives me hope for something. But then there's that voice, which I should voice, that probably some listeners are having too, and probably you as well, where it's like, yeah, sounds like a good plan until, like, just like the Freedom Flotilla sounded like a good plan until they just start bombing ships, seizing people, capturing them, subjecting them to unlawful interrogation, like high-profile activists like Greta Thunberg. So it's like if they can just do that to really high-profile activists in a really visible peace mission, it's like empire, its power is so pervasive, like coloniality, capitalism, empire, all these things. They have an ability to just, because they make the rules, right? So if they don't like what people are doing, they just say, yeah, we make the rules anyway. We're just going to do this. We know it's illegal, but it's okay because it's us. Who's going to stop us? So, this is the thing that upsets me, this injustice, this feeling of how can that happen? What can we do in response to that? Because if these people are not able to initiate the change that they're trying to initiate? Like, what hope do we have? Like, it's disempowering to see.
I completely understand that feeling, of course. Of course I do. My compass is anything that benefits empire for us to feel, I feel the opposite. It benefits them to make us feel helpless. In fact, that is exactly why Israel, do you see, before, like decades before, they would try, Israel specifically and the US, and in some ways Europe as well, but let's just talk about Israel and the US since these are the largest kind of powers right now. They used to hide, rosy the picture, cover up what they were really doing. Okay? So that way, when, for instance, someone like me or my family or my community would be like, oh my God, they're torturing like our friends and family in prisons. Be like, wait, no, they didn't say that. They said that, oh, you'd have Mark Regev on CNN, right, in the 90s come on and be like, no, these were bad actors. They're right? They are bombing. No, we're not doing that. That's not what happened. They shot rockets at us first. What do you think we should do? Every country has a right to defend itself, right? So what's happening is because of social media, that facade has not just crumbled, it is disintegrated into ash. And this is what has brought the whole world together because now they are naked. They are naked. The American empire and Israel are naked. We are seeing them for who they are and for what they are doing. So now they have no cover. So what is their recourse? Their recourse is, you see, yes, now you see what we are doing. But every time you think that you can come up against us, we want to show you that game is over. You can't do anything. And now we are going to have someone like Ben-Gvir live stream himself as he like berates the flotilla, hostages. Now we are going to show on live TV as, Israeli prison guards are raping Palestinians. Now we are going to show you. You see how powerless you are? Now Donald Trump is going to post AI videos of him shitting, from his Air Force One from an fighter airplane on No King's protest. Now they are naked and they are like, fine. Now you know what we're doing? Guess what? See if you can stop us. They are now trying to make us feel helpless. We sent, the first flotilla that went, one of the first, I don't know if it was the first, in 2010, where they literally killed 10 people on board. Israel killed 10 people on board. Okay? And at the time, they were able to, cover it up in a way that like, they're armed, they're terrorists, or whatever it was their talking point was. And then now we sent another flotilla, and then another, and then now 40 came, and then now 50 came. Okay, and then now Italy and Spain said, okay, we're going to kind of bring our naval ships, but then they kind of walked it back, right? So there are changes happening. We have to realize we have been so enslaved and subjugated for so long. It has taken decades for us to get to this point. Okay, so it will not happen overnight. But have you seen McDonald's stock? Have you seen Starbucks stock? Them having to close all their stores. They can't even open in like some places anymore. Like we are doing it. They just don't want us to feel it. But we are. And it may not happen overnight. It may not happen in the quickness that we want, but anything, keep this in mind as a compass, anything they want us to feel should signal to you that the power is in feeling and knowing the opposite. They want us to feel helpless. That should signal to you that there is power in us knowing the opposite. We are not helpless. We are not powerless. All we need to do is continue the course, keep organizing, and keep being smart in how we use our power. And to realize that the only way out of this is together.
Hmm. I think that's a strong closing closing sentence by you. I, yeah, I don't have anything to say in response to that. I think that's right on the money. And I know we're also at time, so the timing is right. But I like to spend the last few minutes giving the floor back to you to talk about any initiatives you have going on, any work that you're doing, where people could find you, if there's anything you want them to know. So I want to give you a couple of minutes here to be able to do that.
I appreciate the time. I appreciate this space. I appreciate you, and I hope your audiences know just how wonderful you are as a human being. Because even just this time with you has been a gift. So thank you so much. For me, you can find me on Instagram for now at Rolla Selbak. And so there's all my work is there. My first and foremost focus right now is me as being a filmmaker is a Palestinian feature film that I am currently producing. It's called The Visitor. And it is, I call it the Palestinian Get Out. It is the first Palestinian horror film of its kind. It's a social thriller. And it's about this young man in Palestine. It's based in Jerusalem. And he's trying to save his family from this entity, this mysterious entity that has descended into his town and that is mysteriously erasing the memories of everyone around him. So, and the ethos of the film is that living under an occupation is scarier than the monsters in our folk tales. So if folks want to know more about the film, they can go to www.thevisitormovie.com, all one word, thevisitormovie.com. If you want to show your support there, you can show your support. If you just want to look at the story and see all the cool cast that we've got coming up, you can do that as well. And my DMs are always open. I always love connecting with people. And nothing else to say but free Palestine.
Thank you, Rolla. Thank you for your voice, for your activism, for your work, for your vision, for your imagination. That movie sounds haunting. I had chills as you were speaking, so I'm excited to see that. And it was a pleasure speaking with you. And I loved your energy and enthusiasm, and it was an honor. So thank you for your kind words. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your time. Thank you for passing through. Thank you for passing through today. Yeah, you, dear listener. Thank you for your support, for your attention, for spending some time with me and this episode's guest. If you're enjoying this content, please subscribe, rate it, like it, tell your friends about it, buy a billboard somewhere next to a highway promoting it. I mean, I'm kidding, of course, but your support really does mean a lot to me. So thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next time.